Good evening. My name is Isla Fatah Abrams, and I am a third year student at the Two Oceans Graduate Institute. The topic I would like to speak to you this evening is about relationships, and this topic falls under the topic of the subject of life skills, personal growth, and social well being. Now, there's many types of relationships that we get around us, whether it is relationship between a parent and a child, or you get a relationship where you find a child with an animal, and even a relationship of a child with a teacher. Now, the type of relations that I want to speak to you about is the relationship between a child and their peer, or the elderly, or even a stranger. Now, let me first explain to you the meaning of the word relation. And the meaning of the word relation means that something that is connected. And when something is connected in some way, that forms a relationship. Now, the other point that I would like to speak to you about is the first relationship between a child and a peer. Now, this relationship is a very important relationship between for the upbringing of the child and the development of the child and the future of the child. Because what can happen is that a child needs that friendship in order to build up an attachment. And when you are busy or you have a peer which is a friend sometimes, it's not always a peer is not always just a friend, but you confide in that person, you listen to that person, you relate to that person what you're going through. And the most important part of all this is that the future of that child depends on that relation, because without that relation they can't build up a they don't know where their life is going to. And what can also happen is a friend influence their decisions in life. Like for instance, if a girl likes doing hairdressing, right, she's gonna offer to do a friend's hair and things like that, and in return they might do something for her again. But she's also gonna develop friends, or make acquaintances with other girls or boys for that matter who's interested in hairdressing, so that they have the same type of language and the same type of conversation. Also, Bronfen Brennes has developed 5 stages of his system, right? And the first 5 stage is the microsystem. This is the relationship between a child and the school, or the daycare, or their parents, or peers. And this type of relationship assists the child in making future decisions. The second relation is the mesosystem, and that is the relation that they have with each other, like how you feel towards certain things. Okay, the ecosystem is the environment, and how this environment influences a child's life. Like, for instance, if a child is exposed to gangsterism or even drugs or thieving, he's going to start acting the same way because that is what he knows and that is what he can relate to. The fourth system is the macro system, and this has to do with the child's culture. Now, when I speak about culture, I'm not just talking about food, and I'm also talking about where they stay, uh, who is in their life at the moment. Are they staying with their parents? Are they staying with grandparents? Um, all these things influences the environment that the child grows up. And the last system that or the last stage in Bronfer and Brenner's stages of development is the chronosystem. Now the chronosystem has to do with time. And when a teenager, or say when you're 10 years old and you're in the intermediate phase, it's very important that you start establishing where in society you want to fit in. In order to do that, you've got to know yourself. So you start testing the waters and you start building relations with different type of children or adults, or for that matter, that you think is going to benefit you at a later stage, and which is also going to contribute to helping you develop as a child on a holistic basis. Now this brings us to the second type of relation I want to speak to you, which is the relationship between a child and maybe a grandparent. It doesn't necessarily mean it's their own grandparents. It can also be a neighbor that's an elderly person, because sometimes you don't know your own grandparents or you don't see them often, but you've got that bond with your grandparents, so you tend to want to be around somebody elderly when you miss that grandparent. And a relationship between a child and a stranger. Now you have to be very careful with how you handle a stranger, because a child will deal with a stranger the way that they see their parents deal with him. If my parents is familiar and they visit on a regular basis and things like that, then that stranger will become somebody familiar. So this is normally the time when a child is not sure where does that stranger fit into their life. But also, with the elderly person, you might, as a child, you might have to do things for them, so you feel that in this relation you are giving more than what you are getting. But that is just with the elderly person. They like when you do things for them, and you know when you do things for them, they will award you or reward you by giving you things in return. And we also need to remember that not every stranger is a bad person. Some strangers are good people, and all these relations develops in, forms part of your life, and in which direction you will be moving in the future. Thank you for listening to me, and I hope that this video makes you understand a little better about the types of relations that we have. Bye.